those weekends where angler after angler is throwing a stickbait, I want something just a little bit different to stand out, but it still has to have that fish catching shimmy of a Wacky rig. I did a lot of messing around this week with Wacky rigging soft jerkbaits, and I was looking for two things. I wanted that really good traditional shimmy that a Wacky rig has, but I also wanted a slight sliding action through the water column.
Oh, that one ate it. That's a nice one too. That's a nice one too.
They're pushing right about that 2-pound mark, but boy, just ate it up with that little bit different fall to it. So I think the best way to describe this is kind of a hybrid between what a stupid tube does so well with the slide and then that traditional Wacky rig shimmy. Now there are a lot of soft jerkbaits out there on the marketplace, and I experimented with 3. I used a traditional 5-inch fluke, a caffeine shad, and then also a soft jerkbait made out of Elastec. This one is the Z2. The first thing that I did is I tried these lures both with a number 1 and a 1/0 Wacky rig hook, a traditional Wacky rig hook, and I'm going to say I was not impressed at all. The Elastec lure either floated right on the surface or dropped so slowly through the water column it would be almost impossible to cover much water, and then the fluke and then the caffeine shad just basically had no action whatsoever. But then I pulled out a 1/8 ounce weighted Wacky rig hook and everything changed. The Elastec lure had a much better sink rate, still very limited action. The fluke had a real nice shimmy to it as it dropped through the water column. I repeated it again and again and again, and each time just had that really nice Wacky rig shimmy to it, but it didn't have the sliding action that I was looking for. And then I finally rigged this one up here, and I was like, this is it. It had both the nice shimmy to it and that sliding action. You can see that the tail is really thin between where it connects to the main part of the body and the end of the tail, and that added weight, that 1/8 ounce extra weight, just put some really nice kick to it, and it would slide through the water column left, right to left like I was looking for. And when I tested it off of my dock before I went out on the water, I caught this fish right away. So that gave me the confidence that this was probably going to work out. Now I rigged all of these lures with the hook point from the bottom to the top, so up through that body cavity, out the top, because me personally, I wanted that lure to drop through the water column as much as a normal body positioning as possible. But feel free to experiment. You go ahead and rig it through the side, and then it's going to kind of flip that lure where the flatter side, the wider side, drops down through the water column. So kind of play around with it and see what you prefer. One thing that I did notice though is that every single bite that I had, the lure just started to swim off. I never felt that traditional thump or watched the line bounce. So for me and my older eyes, having the high-vis line with a leader made a huge difference. As a matter of fact, in this clip here, you can see it. If I play it back in slow motion here, you can see how far that lure, that line swam off before I was like, whoa, there's a fish on here. And hey, speaking of something different, if you want to watch another video that takes a very traditional presentation and adds just a little bit of flash to it, something to stand out from the crowd, go ahead and watch this one right here. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.